Well, hello, lovely listeners. Today I have the pleasure of meeting and speaking with Riley Jarvis. Riley helps CEOs skyrocket their performance by optimizing their deep sleep. And not only that, it's with individualized scientific lab testing. Well, that all sounds over my pay grade, Riley. And I'm intrigued to know how you got into this because I think we all struggle with our sleep from time to time. So you put in your bio that you started it through your own health journey quite a few years ago, and you found that sleep was the missing link for you that brought everything together. So you're now on a mission to help other people in the same way. You talk about unlocking their biology code and achieving sleep nirvana. So, and this is getting to the root cause of it. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people out there that struggle to sleep. I'm not one of them, but I do have nights where it's broken sleep a lot, or I wake up earlier than I want to, and all of that sort of stuff. But my partner struggles, but I think that's largely induced if he's feeling highly anxious and things like that. Over to you, Riley. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you. And
thank you so much, Mel. I really appreciate you having me on today. And I love talking about sleep. I love sharing my story with people. Sleep is one of those things that we all need. Nobody can skip it. I call them, we could take this a lot of ways, but one of the things, that's kind of the overarching principles, I call it the three amigos. And we need sleep, we need diet, and we need exercise. And these are kind of the three pillars. And people have a good grasp. Not everybody, but a good amount of us know that we need to eat a clean diet and we need to exercise. But a lot of us don't really know too much about sleep. We know we need to sleep. We know we need to close our eyes and open our eyes, and somehow that recovers our body. And then we just get on with the next day. But sleep seems to be the one that's actually on the back burner, and the one that we kind of sweep under the rug in hopes that, we can become more productive by, sacrificing your sleep, drinking coffee, sleeping less to get ahead. And it's almost a badge of honor, especially with a lot of the high performers that I work with. They always say to me, why would I sleep when I could just, sleep less and get on with it? So it's a really interesting one when you have to sort of defrag their mind a little bit and kind of show them the right way. And it's not until they get a taste of what it actually does feel like, do they look back at their old version of what they were before. They're like, wow, why didn't I start this sooner? So it's just getting people to that tipping point. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, it is, because I was in the corporate world for a long time, and we used to live by the work hard, play hard, which is just crazy, right? But I'd love to know really more about your sort of backstory, Riley, and in terms of, you talked about your health challenges, but let the audience get to know you a little better in terms of who is Riley and what were the health challenges and sort of what brought you to where we are today.
For sure. So it's a really interesting one. And it's interesting with a lot of us health coaches and people who get into the medical field. It starts a lot of the time from their own health journey. It was through that they now want to inspire other people and help them along their journey as well. And mine was the same thing. So I originally started, this is going back, I'm in my early 30s now, but this is going back to my early 20s. After I graduated from university, I was in finance, and then I went into investment banking, and I went into private equity. And the hours there were just insane. It was just, if you ever watched the movie Wolf of Wall Street, it's just, it's a dog eat dog world, and there's 10 people behind you looking to take your position. So it's a lot of, being at your peak performance all the time. But one thing I was starting to notice was my performance was starting to deteriorate. I was becoming forgetful, and I was becoming fatigued, and I thought I was doing all the healthy and the right things. But I went downhill really quickly. I started losing weight. My skin started to become pale, cold hands, cold feet all the time. No matter what I was trying, nothing was working. So I went to a ton of doctors, all these different specialists. And after tons and tons of testing, turns out I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And it was sort of this autoimmune condition that, it was nice to know about that, but it also too, it kind of maybe depressed a little bit. It kind of sent me on this downward spiral because I was bedridden. A lot of medication that doctors were giving me just wasn't helping me. In fact, it was making me feel worse, more brain fog, more fatigue.
What is Crohn's?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So Crohn's is known as an autoimmune disease, and it's isolated inside of our intestines. So, people may have heard of ulcerative colitis, rheumatoid arthritis, when you have a lot of sore joints and things like that. It's where our immune system is just oversensitive. And in a way, to describe it very simply, it almost attacks itself. And what that causes, and I mean, it manifests in different people, and it's usually genetically you're susceptible to it. But with people with Crohn's, it really isolates itself down into your small intestine. So if you ever see that huge coil inside of a diagram or something like that, that's where it's isolated to. And when that becomes inflamed, it can be very hard for food to bypass through there. But consequently, it also affects your energy, because now all your body resources are trying to fight that inflammation instead of, digesting food, allowing you to think properly, and just managing your weight and all these other things at the same time. So that's where people get put on steroids or, things to really suppress the immune system so your body can deal with it. It can be, there's a big range for a lot of people. Sometimes people have to be put on a bag for the rest of their life. Fortunately, I wasn't in that circumstance, but mine was bad enough where it really made me bedridden. So what ended up happening from that was doctors couldn't really do anything for me. I was forced to quit my job. I was in a ton of debt. So I was essentially bedridden at my parents' place. And it was from this place that I just had to build myself up brick by brick. And it was here I was just researching, honestly, hours upon hours a day, just like, how does the body work? And just kind of becoming my own doctor in a way. And it was from that whole journey, fast forward years later, I did after that my own certification, my own education, learn all these different things about the body, and really just cracking the code on how our entire biology works. But it was through sleep, because each month I would try sleep and then I tried exercise. When I hit that month of sleep and I really just immersed myself in it, everything started getting better so much more quickly. Like I would go to do blood tests, all of a sudden things were starting to improve. Hormones were starting to improve, and just how I felt was starting to improve. And I was starting to track my sleep too. And I was a very numbers driven guy, just originally being in finance. And so when I was able to track these things and the number was starting to go upward and the trends were all headed in that direction, I was like, I think I'm really onto something here. So it was through this point that, just kept going down the path, studying sleep. How can I optimize it? And then through all the education and everything else, I started helping people locally because they started to hear about my story. It was, friends of friends, kind of made a business locally in my city. And then it's just sort of expanded. So, fast forward 10 years later, now I'm helping people all over the world with their sleep. And I've been able to put my Crohn's into 100% remission over the last 5 years. And it's sort of interesting. I mean, you go to the conventional doctors and they don't know why, which is a very interesting thing. They scratch their head sometimes. I don't think doctors are bad. I mean, they really save people's lives, but everybody comes across their own journey. A lot of the time, especially a lot of people I work with, sometimes they do hit dead ends with the conventional medical road. And that's where they want to go, sometimes more the natural way. And, for a lot of people, that can be a great solution for them.
Yeah. In terms of conventional medicine, it's got its place, but I don't believe that. I think the people that practice it are good people, but I don't believe that what they're being taught is the right thing. I think it's pretty inhumane, actually, a lot of what's taught, isn't it? And
it is.
And just to give a load of pills for something, like I think about someone like my auntie. I think she was on something like 17 tablets a day. She lived out. Yeah, she lived out in New York State. Yeah. And how the hell is the body ever going to recover with that?
Exactly. I mean, you have one thing to contradict the side effects, to contradict the other side effects. And it's just like, if you're able to give your body the right inputs, I mean, it has this amazing ability to heal itself, and it will give you the right outputs. And obviously you always want to talk with your doctor with this stuff. But if our body was operating as it should, how I like to think of it, it's kind of this, I call it the upstream analogy. And I usually show clients a diagram, what it sort of looks like. But if you picture, for example, a river that's flowing from the top of a mountain, and then it flows all the way downstream down to the ocean, where the medical industry usually deals with is on the symptom level. So they look all the way downstream to where they are. But what if you look all the way upstream to see where's that source coming from? Because if you get to that source, then those symptoms will not manifest in the first place. And so, like you said, it's just, you go to the doctor, the doctor will match a set of your symptoms with their checkboxes. Okay, there is a pill or medication for this, but where's the end game with that? I mean, with a lot of this stuff, like, you're taking some forms of medication for the rest of your life, and you might switch it up a little bit, but like, what's the end game there is what I ask people. And I just see story after story with people doing it the natural way, just being able to, for example, like people who had sleep apnea, don't have a CPAP machine anymore, like that disappears, pre-diabetic, gone, lose like 60 pounds within 6 months, and just all these amazing stories. Really with sleep is when we can really unlock our potential, because we have so many restorative hormones and different things happening inside of our body that when it's really able to, you take advantage of your deep sleep, your REM sleep, and all these restorative things that happen at the key hours of at the middle of the night. That's when you can just wake up feeling more refreshed. It's not an overnight process. I mean, some people have been burning the candle for 20, 30 years. So maybe it will take you 1 or 2 years to heal, but relatively, that's actually pretty good for a lot of people. And I'm not saying you can reverse a lot of the stuff that you experienced before. I mean, everybody's on a different range, but you can, the things I have seen have been nothing short of a miracle, to be honest.
Mm. So what did, so you were bedridden for a while and back at your parents, and you said in a load of debt and all of that, but
yeah,
you found that it was sleep that was giving you the better results when you were tracking it. So what was the sort of, what did that look like from you being bedridden to being properly healthy? And how did you then sort of progress into, I know you said obviously local people were interested in your story, but how did that then turn into the business?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So this whole story sort of progressed over a period of years. So when I was, fast forward to when I was bedridden, I had to quit my job in a pile of debt. I really just started researching online of how I can fix this stuff. So there was, a lot of scientific studies on PubMed.com and just other masterminds. And I was joining courses. I was paying for a lot of doctors and health practitioners who were kind of helping me along my journey, specifically within functional medicine. And so what I started doing was analyzing my own biology. So that was kind of the thing to start, to see, instead of we test and not guess, to see like, okay, what are my hormone levels right now? How is my gut right now? Are there parasites? Are there pathogens inside? What are my blood markers looking like? And at the same time while I was doing that, I was just researching hours upon hours a day. And then, this was kind of a daily thing for me for about a couple of years. And I was doing these sort of side jobs. So I was doing sales jobs. I'm also a copywriter too. I've been doing that for a long time. So writing for other people's websites. And it was just a lot of these side gigs. I would help some people with their finances, but I was never taking on as much work as I would before, just because my body could not handle it. And, it was sort of, fast forward 3-4 years later, that's really when I cracked the code for my own biology. Then I started to realize, I think I can make an actual business out of this. And there was other people I was seeing who were making a business out of health as well, not specifically within sleep. But I also noticed that nobody was really talking about sleep. And it just, the opportunity came to me. It was like, wow, there's really something here. And it was so crystal clear to me. I mean, I was dreaming about it every single night of what sort of it looked like and how many people sort of needed help in that area. So that's where, I just went 100% in. And, a lot of entrepreneurs sort of bang their head against the wall, trying different things. But for me, I don't know what it was. It all came very clear to me. I felt like I was very lucky in some circumstances, just the people I was meeting, they were telling me the right things at the right time. CEOs and executives were really helping me with a lot of things like the business side of it and building that up, because then I had to start considering on the business side, okay, how do I acquire customers? How do I build the operations? If I hire somebody, how do I train them? What about business culture? What about, like bringing something to market? Do I pay for ads? Do I do it organically? Just all these other things. And especially with the times, because technology is changing so fast, especially over that period of time. So it was just learning that whole side of it. So first it was learning the health. Okay, I think I have that figured out. Then learning the business side of it. Okay, I think I have that figured out. Then I just started trying to help out people for free. And I would just reach out to them and say, hey, this is my story for sleep. People really latched on to that. And then it was from there that, I'd give them a free 30-minute, 1-hour session to help them with their sleep. They got results. They would give me a testimonial. Then I would feed that into my marketing. Then other people would hear about it. It was just kind of this continuous process. And it was honestly quite simple. Just going through that. Complexity came later on once I started to scale. But it was really at that point then when I started to help people locally. And then when I started to build a website and then, using ClickFunnels. And then after that, it's really just getting involved with different speaking engagements. Speaking was a big one because through education, the light bulb you would see would click in people's minds. Then they would be interested in becoming a client or getting a free assessment. And then it ultimately went from there. But one thing I started to find was I was helping people with their general sleep hygiene. So what is the best morning routine for them? What is the best, sleep hygiene? What should they do throughout the day to manage like their stress, their diet, their lifestyle, exercise, evening routine, and things like that? And it kind of hit a cap because it was sort of a general cookie cutter approach with checklists of one size fits all. And one thing I started to notice was everybody's biology is different. And in the same way that I was able to improve my biology through these different lab testing and to actually see those markers, I started to realize I need to take that same approach with other people now to make it a very personalized, individualized thing. And so that's what I did. And so I started the routine of getting in touch with a lot of different top end labs within the USA and Europe that just do cutting edge testing to look at your entire genetics, your gut profile, your hormones, your brain neurotransmitters, your body's ability to make energy, your body's toxic load, and all these biomarkers to identify hidden stressors inside of the body. They're kind of these internal fires that your body is always trying to put out that cause inflammation, that cause you to wake up in the middle of the night, that cause you not to sleep, to just not be fully restored as it should. And you kind of think of it as like a computer, like when all your RAM and all that bandwidth in your brain is just being wasted on, viruses and all these things. If you can just remove that, everything will just run so much more smoothly. And that's what I did. So now when we identify somebody's, where sort of the weak links are in their biology, where those holes are, then we're able to fill those, not necessarily deficiencies, but we can kind of see these different patterns. For example, if somebody has lower hormones than they should be, if there's a misfiring between their different organs, the timing of everything, there's just so much that goes into it. And it's really fascinating. So once we identify that, then we take holistic protocols and create an individualized plan for them that's customized to their biology of what it needs. So instead of like a machine gun auto fire approach, just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks, we take a more sniper-like approach where it's just whatever they need. It's more less with more. And through that, they get better, usually within a period of a couple of weeks, a couple of months, they're better than they felt in years.
So in terms of the testing side of it, how are you doing that? If you're working with people all over the world, how does that work? Like if somebody was listening to this and thought, this all sounds good, what's the process that they would go through?
Yeah, it's a really good question. People ask that all the time. Like when I just go to my local doctor. And so what I do is, because I have these partnerships with different labs, I actually send lab test kits directly to their house. And so once it gets sent to their house, usually they send them about a series of 5 lab test kits. Those are the core essential ones. There's other ones I can order after that, just depending on, where things are. But it would either be a saliva sample, a stool sample, or a urine sample. Once they take that sample, then they just call FedEx. FedEx comes within a couple hours, picks it up from their house. All the shipping's prepaid for. It gets shipped to either Europe or the USA within about 1 day max. So the sample's still good. And then after that, it's being processed by the lab. And within a couple of weeks, I'll see the results electronically from the cloud. And then then from there, we'll create a customized approach to see like really where are those weak links. It's interesting sometimes. And I play this fun games with clients sometimes where they won't necessarily tell me what they're struggling with. But when I see the results, I can kind of guess like, do you notice in the morning you kind of experience fatigue, like after you drink coffee, and like in the afternoon after lunch, do you notice this energy slump? And then nighttime, do you kind of feel like wired but tired at the same time? They're like, yeah, how did you know? And it's because the lab testing typically tells all, and how the client feels is always the most important indicator, but we use both. So sort of a subjective and objective approach, and then we track everything along the way. And then one other thing I do is I send all my clients an Aura ring. And the Aura ring is great because it tracks your sleep every night. And I'm able to track their sleep from the cloud every night to identify trends, to see how is their heart rate variability, how is their deep sleep, how is their REM sleep. So we're really using those objective measures, metrics to see that they are progressing in the right direction as well. And if they are, if something happened, we'll be able to identify it because maybe they had alcohol one night, maybe they were up late for a meeting, maybe it's too much coffee. And so with all these different indicators, we can really, niche down to find out what's actually going on.
So once you've got the results back, it sounds like it's more than just sleep here. It sounds like it must be a change of diet and stuff then as well, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. So the process to sleep is going to be better diet, lifestyle, stress, exercise, and we'll add in supplements too towards the end to supplement an already good existing lifestyle and whatnot. But yeah, it like we do all these things to facilitate better sleep, and then better sleep facilitates into better energy, focus, emotional IQ, relationships, more money in their business, whatever that is, just overall well-being. So it's a cycle that it's a diagram, and I usually show my clients as well of, it's this lifetime journey that you're constantly on of always, if you're not feeling that great right now, just know that you're probably going to go into an acute stage where you're really just focusing on yourself for a couple months, but there will come a point where you just reach maintenance mode, and you may need to follow just, 1/10 of the protocol of what it initially was, because your body has built up those reserves and resources. And then you can just kind of live a life, and you can get away maybe with staying up later and not suffer the consequences of the next day, just because your body can actually handle it, and it can put out those fires more quickly if they ever do come up.
And do you ever advocate, so something more recently, I've known about the benefits of fasting it's been around for a while, but I was chatting to somebody the other day who suffered with chronic fatigue years and years ago, and again, hit a brick wall with medicine. And so started to do his own sort of research, and then came across this particular guy who was an advocate for fasting. So he did a couple of weeks complete fast, just water. And then the following 2 weeks, you're slowly then introducing the food back in. And there's obviously no alcohol at all for that month. And he said the first 3 or 4 days was horrific.
Yeah.
He said, but then he wasn't particularly hungry, right? And then by the end of the month, he just had more energy than he's ever had. You know, he was basically saying there was that much poison probably in his toxins in his body from like the stress and the lack of sleep and all of that, that the body just couldn't cope with it anymore. So in terms of the fasting, it's getting rid of the toxins start to come out of the system. Is that something you sort of encourage? Or
I do. Yeah. I've heard that time and time again. I mean, fasting it's its own community itself, and fasting does so many benefits of the body. And you have different kinds of fasting. You have intermittent fasting, you have the fasting where you don't eat for a week or two, 36 hours, 24 hours, and there's different kinds of it. But I know plenty of people who have fasted for 2 weeks up to a month. And, sometimes they're drinking nothing but water and salt and certain things. And, there's specific protocols that you can follow for that kind of thing. But yeah, I completely relate to that, where the first few days, your body is going through this entire withdrawal effect, and you just have headaches, you're cramping, you can't sleep, you feel agitated, you get that feeling hangry, and you don't want to keep on, but you kind of reach that day 5 or 6 mark. And then all of a sudden your mind becomes clear. And you're right. It's sort of your body processing those toxins. It's sort of your gut bacteria and all these other things happening at the same time. And a lot of the toxins that our body stores is actually in our fat cells. It's called our adipose tissue. And we're actually losing fat. Some of those toxins as a result can just be released into our bloodstream. And that's what can cause us to feel like that malaise and that hangover effect. But once you sort of get past that, and the more water you can drink, and you're taking certain binders and things like that to help with those side effects, it's also called a Herxheimer reaction, if anybody wants to look that up. But after that, then your body becomes very clear, and then you can start introducing foods back in. And what's nice too is you can introduce foods back in and see if your body reacts in a negative way to it. And that's also an elimination diet that's very good. So you can follow, eating autoimmune based foods that are whole food, that are clean. And then you can start introducing things if you might have a sensitivity to it, such as, for example, gluten, dairy, eggs, nightshades, all these different types of foods as well. So I for sure vouch with that. I say for people in general, fasting is a stressor on the body. It can put the body into more of a breaking down state. So if I see somebody's hormones cannot handle that, then I typically say we really want to ease into that. And, maybe instead of fasting 2 days a week, we'll only fast 1 day a week. And we do not want to fast on days that we're extremely busy. We want to eat a very healthy, high protein, high good fat breakfast, such as, eggs, avocado, or something like that, because our brain actually needs those building blocks to do it. And then maybe on the weekends when we're not working, we can fast for watching TV, or something that's not too stressful. That's a really good way to do it. But yeah, fasting has a lot of benefits. And, generally you want to follow sort of a good rule of thumb is don't eat for 4 to 5 hours after you wake up. And then you could have a light meal. And then for dinner, you can have even a heavier meal. That's a really good, just simple, easy framework that people can adopt. But it depends on how you feel. If you're getting lightheaded, if you're getting, extremely hungry, if you just don't feel that great, it will take about a week or two for your body to adapt to fasting. So if you try it and it's still not working, then it's a good chance that your hormone levels are just not as, in as a optimal state as they should be.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so in terms of the people you work with, you specifically work with CEOs, like sort of high achievers, or is that your market?
It is. And that's what it started out as, working with CEOs. But now, it's expanded to everyone. Like I said in the beginning, everybody needs better sleep. So now I'm helping everybody, people who are shift workers, people just need help with optimizing their sleep. And usually the plan to get them better sleep is the same for everybody. It's just with CEOs, we have to add in an extra layer. But if it's just a general person who's looking to improve their sleep, or, they just have subpar sleep, no matter, what the situation is that's coming from, Usually I notice with those people within a few weeks, we can really start making things go in the right direction. Even if we're not doing the lab testing, but if we're introducing lifestyle changes, people can see dramatic results.
Okay. All right, cool. So if I wanted to, so I was saying to you at the beginning, you know, I'm okay with my sleep, although I can wake a few times, and it's always worse if I've had a drink the night before. Obviously, that's a given, isn't it? We all know that one.
For sure.
But what are some things that I could be being more mindful of to give myself a more rested night's sleep? And what would you say is the major benefit of having a more rested night's sleep?
For sure. I'll go into the benefits first. So if we get a better sleep while our brain's sleeping, it's probably good to know like what's actually happening to our body while we're sleeping. Because if you sort of know the why, with a deeper understanding, you just get more appreciation of what our body, actually needs in order to facilitate better sleep throughout the day. So one of the big ones is our brain is really detoxifying a lot of the toxins while we're sleeping, and it's called our lymphatic system. And you can kind of think of it as like these garbage truck cleaners. While you're sleeping, especially during REM sleep, these garbage trucks will sort of come through and clean out all the debris from the day before, the week before, and things like that. And this is what your brain really needs to feel alert and awake the next day. But what it also does is it consolidates memories. Like, what did you learn the day before? And it's just trying to make sense, of the world, of previous days and the day prior as well, things you learn, and just really restoring your emotional system, really restoring, that prefrontal cortex, the front of your brain. And so by the time you wake up, you feel as rested and rejuvenated as possible. And so how you can really facilitate better deep sleep, not waking up as much throughout the night, get to sleep better and wake up more refreshed and rejuvenated. There's several things you can do, and these are sort of the low-hanging fruit. One of them is we want to find out what our sleep animal sign is. So you can go to the Power of When quiz.com. And what that is everybody has a different chronotype. And a chronotype is what our body is used, genetically. Are we more of a nighttime person or more of a morning person? And this quiz takes about 5 minutes. And if we can, set our schedule to what our body actually needs, because we are all unique, then we'll be able to, have much better energy. Because many people are waking up super early, but they're actually a nighttime person. So if they can just extend their morning by a couple hours, it's amazing the output that they can just achieve throughout the day and just feel better throughout the day as well. The other thing you can do is really minimize blue light before we go to bed. Now, blue light is known as a very stimulatory light, and it's gained a lot of momentum over the years. Blue light comes from our iPhones, it comes from our computers, from our TVs, really any screen before we go to bed. So ideally, we want to minimize that 2 hours ideally, but 1 hour for sure before we go to sleep. There's a recent study, 1 hour blue light exposure before bed reduced our melatonin by 90%. Which is huge. And melatonin is the master sleep hormone that our body needs to stay asleep, those deep REM and sleep restorative cycles. And so one of the ways we can do that is wearing blue light blocking glasses. Now, one of my favorite brands is called the Twilight Classics. You can go to, but the brand is called True Dark. So you can go to, I think it's, if you just Google True Dark, you can find them there. Another really good brand is Swannies as well. But you can even just go, the Google or Amazon has some great ones that you can wear as well. Just pop those on a couple hours prior to bed, especially if you're on your electronics, and that's a really good way to get started. Other applications on your computer, you can download. It's called Iris. I think it's iris.co. It just automatically has that red tint to it. And you can use the one that's already built into your computer, but this one really does the job well. Same with your iPhone or your Android device. You can get specific applications that can really maximize that blue light exposure. So that's a blue light piece. The other thing we want to consider while we're sleeping is we want to have our bedroom pitch black as much as possible. So this would look like blackout curtains, even any lights that's coming from like our cable boxes, heaters, fans, the TV, we want to black those out as much as possible, because even though our eyes are closed, we still have these light receptors around our eyes. And so on the cell level, our body can still detect if there's light inside of the room. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. The other things we want to consider is, the morning routine as well is very important. So people think sleep is all about the evening routine, but the morning routine is just as important, because it tells our body when is it time to wake up, because then it knows when it's time to go to bed. So what we can do when we first wake up is walk outside and expose our eyes to the sun as soon as possible for about 15 minutes. So Don't put sunglasses on. Try and look towards the sun without straining your eyes as much as you can. But getting that natural light coming in through your eyes, it comes into something known as your master clock. And that signals a ton of hormones to be released, a bunch of reactions in your body, telling your body when it's time to wake up. So light is a very important one, especially when we first wake up in the morning. Another one is not eating too much before we go to sleep. Ideally, any heavy meals, saving that for about 3 to 4 hours before sleep. That can just increase our body temperature, our stomach's digesting instead of focusing on restoring our body. And that can actually wake us up at night with the blood sugar roller coaster that our body can ride, and it kind of elevates cortisol sometimes as well. The other one is no intense exercise before bed. You can go for a light jog or a walk, but anything that's very intensive, people going to the gym, lifting heavy weights, that can actually increase your body temperature and all of these different stimulatory hormones that can make you not fall asleep as well. And this kind of rolls into your bedroom temperature. We sleep better in a cooler bedroom environment. So ideally Celsius, 16 to 18 degrees Celsius, or, Fahrenheit, between 65, 68 degrees Fahrenheit is a really good marker as well. And, besides that, removing things such as alcohol. If you are to have alcohol, wait at least 4 hours before you have one. To minimize the effects of alcohol, you can also have something known as activated charcoal to kind of bind those toxins to help with that sleep. And another one known as N-acetylcysteine. It's a natural supplement, but absolutely check with your doctor with that as well. So those are some of the low-hanging fruit ones that you can use. There's a ton more, but those are some really good ones that are simple and easy to get started.
Okay. I mean, yeah, wow. I'm thinking, God, that's quite a thing though, isn't it? Like, A, how do you regulate your temperature in your bedroom? B, I haven't got blackout curtains. Going outside for 15 minutes as soon as you wake up, all of these, when you live in the UK, you don't see the sun it's the hottest day. It's the hottest day of the year here today. I'm absolutely boiling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's 30 degrees at the moment.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. It's a rarity, but
yeah.
But yeah, so it's just listening to all of that. I was like, wow, what makes people think, yeah, I've got to do this? Because I have good sleep, I have bad sleep, but would I get myself into that habit every day, or, and go to those low hanging fruit things that you said? What's the sort of, where's your ideal client at in terms of why they're just like, yeah, stuff this, I've got to do this now?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I have a complete range. I have the people who know so much about sleep, almost sometimes as much as me sometimes, and then people who just know nothing at all. And so you really want to meet people where they're at. And what's important is just to baby step, and every day just make slight improvements and make, today better than yesterday. And that's all you can hope for. And you don't have to make, like everything I said, you don't have to do everything at once. And it's all about, making these things become habits in the easiest way possible. And just know it's going to be difficult to change any habit for about 3 weeks. But after that, once you get over that hump, it just becomes a lifestyle and a way of life. So the thing is, just implement one thing that's easy to do at a time. And, maybe you don't want to go out of your way and buy blackout curtains, first thing. Start with things that are more manageable and easy. So maybe instead of eating 1 hour before you go to sleep, try 2 hours if you can, or adjusting your bedroom temperature with, a fan, or if you have air conditioning. Another really good one is, having relaxation techniques before you go to bed. Maybe it's like a guided meditation, or maybe it's having a hot bath or a hot shower. Just implementing these small things, if you can just relax your body as much as possible, that's a really good place to start. Another really good thing is an application on your phone. It's called brain.fm, and it's kind of a cheat code and a hack. And what it is it's kind of like these frequencies you put over your headphones on, and it'll put your brain into a frequency, whether it's sleep, creativity, focus, relaxation. And I know the guys do back end, and I really stand by them, but it's a really good one. I think it's only about $3 a month, but it's more than worth the investment. And they're pretty new. Brain.fm. Yeah. Brain.fm. You can find them on the Apple Store and the Google Play Store as well. But yeah, it's like I said, it's all about just taking baby steps in the right direction. Don't make it too hard for yourself, because if you do too much at one time, it'll just be analysis by paralysis, and then you just won't do anything at all. So just try one. And, journaling is really important. I noticed with some of these people as well, because when you look back at your progress, you'll see just how far you've come. But when it's just, you're so focused on just day by day, you don't necessarily see your progress sometimes. So that's a really good one to keep you on track.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, if somebody listening or people listening would like to find out more about you, Riley, and maybe even work with you, where's the best place for them to go?
Absolutely. So they can simply go to www.thesleepconsultant.com. Outside of there, they can subscribe to the newsletter, get regular information. They can book a free sleep assessment for me for 15 minutes, and we'll just dive into their custom situation. They can get sleep questionnaires, and there's just a ton of free resources that they can learn on as well from there. So yeah, all inside.
Okay, lovely. And I always like to leave these conversations with anything you feel called to share, any pearls of wisdom or anything at all.
Oh, that's a really good question. I would just say, honestly, just your health is more important than anything you can ever imagine, because health is wealth. And no matter what you're trying to do, if you can prioritize your health, it'll pay you back dividends in ways that you cannot begin to imagine. You think of it like a bank account. If you go to bed early tonight, it's almost like saving money in the bank account so that you can use it for tomorrow. And if you think about it that way, as your sleep as an investment inside of yourself, that'll pay you back in the future. Whatever you want to do, maybe it's relationships, maybe it's your business, maybe, it's just like your actual well-being. It will be way more beneficial to you in any way than, stressing out about certain things, burning the candle from both ends of your biology. Because if you sacrifice something, one area, it's going to sacrifice, whether it's short term or down the road. And for a lot of people, it's not worth it. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, just go easy on yourself, one habit a day, and you'll be in a good place.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. I've learned a lot today. You certainly know your stuff. And it's given me food for thought, and certainly it'll be a conversation I have with my partner later when I see him, because as I say, he's definitely struggling at times. So thank you so much, Riley. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Mel. Pleasure being on.